Courtney and I broke up about a month ago, and people have been asking why and what happened and said they were invested in the relationship. And I've been trying to be really respectful of her and really kind of quiet and let things settle, but I also feel like I can answer some questions. So we began our relationship while I was still incarcerated. So about 7 months before I got out, we started talking every day. It was this kind of like perfect storm of things in her life and COVID and having time to talk on the phone and really being able to connect. And we have an incredible connection. I mean, we did then, and I think we still do now. But it was a very different circumstance. We talked on the phone every day for hours and just did what she called a data dump, like shared everything from our lives, and it was amazing. And I remember even when I first got out, she was sad. She said she was grieving the loss of that because we were able to be together physically, but we weren't able to have that same kind of intensity and time because life is really busy and life pulls us in different directions and things are hard. And in the beginning, she knew from the beginning, she was like, I've lived my life, I've traveled, I've dated, like, you're what I want. And I wanted to be able to give her that same security because she checked all the boxes. She's amazing. She's an amazing human being. In the end, I just didn't know for sure what I wanted. I didn't know for sure who I was. I don't know who I am in the world, and I couldn't give her the security that she wanted and that she deserves. So she wanted to know for sure that I wanted her for the rest of my life, and I couldn't give her that. And so we were in this place where her needs weren't met. She said she felt like she was auditioning for a role she wasn't sure she would ever get. And I was trying to live up to that. I was trying to be that person that she needed. I was trying to give her a security that I couldn't know for sure in my heart. And I felt guilt because she was there with me in the beginning. And it wasn't like she was like supporting me. Like I think I sent her more money than she sent me, but it was this connection that was really meaningful. And she absolutely was there for me and she absolutely supported me and she's absolutely helped me get to where I am in life. So I felt this obligation. I wanted to show up for her and do the same thing for her. But I also had to recognize at some point I had to know myself. And we talked about this. In the beginning of the relationship, she joked like, okay, when you get out, you're gonna have to sleep with 10 women before we can be together. Like I need to know you've gotten it out of your system. And I think that, that was a really good intention, but then the reality was that she wasn't comfortable with that. Like, I don't know that we would have been comfortable with that. And we had a lot of conversations around it, but then it ended up being this thing where she didn't want to talk about it anymore because it was uncomfortable and because it triggered her. And I understand that. But what happened is she didn't want to talk about that. So I went to my friends, I talked to other people, which is what she wanted. But then that created this kind of emotional divide because as I struggle with those feelings, I'm now talking to other people in this intense way and I'm not talking to her. And she said she felt emotionally abandoned. And I understand that because one of the biggest internal struggles about relationships and happiness and direction in life, I couldn't share with her because every time I did, it made her uncomfortable and she asked me not to. So it was this really kind of difficult, ugly place where we were just slowly dividing. And that last month was just not a good space. That last month, she would come home, I would have cooked dinner, we would eat, and then we would just go in separate rooms. We weren't getting what we needed from each other. And we were both invested in the relationship and we both care about each other. So we didn't want to say something was wrong. And then finally there was just this breaking point. And it was around Thanksgiving where I just I was not happy and I knew she wasn't happy. And it took time for her to admit that she wasn't happy. It was just tough. It was so sad because everything was perfect. Everything should have been perfect. Her family was here and I absolutely love her family. We had a friend over. It was a great meal. We cooked the turkey together and I was so happy, but I was also so sad and I was also so just withdrawn. And so we took that weekend apart. We spent some time apart and then we came and we had a really difficult conversation about boundaries and what it would look like. And then we came back together and we grieved and we both cried and we both went through a lot of things. And this wasn't an easy decision for us to come to. This wasn't this will be better off without whatever. And you can blame somebody. If you want to blame somebody, blame me. It's not about her. It's not about what somebody's done. It's about recognizing that our lives have gone in very different directions, that we have a million different things to consider. And it isn't the things that we were worried about in the beginning. In the beginning, we were worried about the age gap. Is that going to be a problem? Or what if I want to have kids? And those were never the things it did. It was just the not knowing myself in the world. It was not knowing what I wanted or what I needed or how I was going to interact with the world or how to have surety. I, as an adult, don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't know. It's hard to describe because a couple things. One, I was incarcerated for all those years. Two, I've been profoundly codependent for most of my life. So my role has been showing up for what other people want or need and not knowing how to even explore and understand my own things. And that's part of the reason that I'm in therapy is who am I? What do I want? What do I need in a relationship? What do I need out of, kind of daily life? What is the most important thing to me? Because in prison, I can fantasize about sex, but that doesn't make sex the most important thing. Or I can fantasize about, growing up and having some great traveling experience. That doesn't make travel a meaningful experience. So it's really this process of getting to know myself and recognizing that I desperately hope that one day Courtney and I can come back together and be friends or be in whatever that is. I don't know what it looks like. but I know that she means more to me than almost anybody in my life. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to break up and grieve and lose my best friend at the same time that I lose my partner. And I felt really profoundly like unmoored over the holidays, and I know she has too. You know, we've gone through email exchanges, we've gone through periods of her asking for space and saying, hey, I can't talk right now. And we're trying to do this as like openly and respectfully as possible. And we're trying to do it as honestly. And we've had those moments of connection where even after the breakup, we've been able to give each other a hug, or we've been able to talk and just have this like pure thing of like respecting and loving each other, but recognizing that this isn't right now. But then emotions come up, and it's difficult and it's uncomfortable, and so we're trying to figure out how to get through that. And I think what people have said that's probably a good idea is that we need just like a clean break. We need 6 months or whatever period of time where we don't interact or we don't talk, and then that way there's no like concern, there's no like getting things confused. We're going to kind of settle, figure out who we are as people, like what we want in the world. And then if we can come back together as friends or as something else, yeah, then we're in a good position. But until that happens, until like I get to know who I am in the world, until she figures out like what went wrong on, you know, on her side, or what she wasn't getting that she needed, or what she wasn't doing that she wanted to do, because I think we both weren't our best selves. And in the beginning we were, and that's what's so hard, because you remember in a relationship when you were your best self with that person, and then when that changes, you want to go back to it, but it's not always possible. So it's been an incredibly emotional month. It's been full of challenges. It's been full of like disappointments and like moments of joy or moments of hope, and like just, you know, falling back down again. But we're doing the best we can, and there's no animosity and there's no hatred, and it's just recognizing that relationships are difficult, and that when things change so dramatically, as dramatically as our lives are, things don't always endure. They don't always endure in the way that they existed before, and sometimes we have to adapt to that, and it's unpleasant, but it's important.